Okay, so have you ever wished you could just ask a historical figure a question? I mean, not just read their books, but actually have a conversation with them. Well, today we're going to dive into a new technology that claims to make that possible, and it could completely transform how we learn from the past by literally bringing it to life.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Imagine walking into a massive, ancient library, but instead of just silence and old paper, every single scroll, every book, could actually speak its wisdom to you. That's the core idea we're looking at today, turning dead, static information into a living, dynamic conversation.
So we're talking about a massive shift, right? We're going from silent books, just sitting on a shelf, to having these incredible conversational mentors, basically right in your pocket. For centuries, if you got stuck on a passage in a book, well, that was it. The book couldn't explain itself. But that whole way of thinking, it's finally being challenged.
All right, so how is this even possible? Let's get into the first real-world example of this, a system they're calling George AI. And get this, they're calling it history's first conversational librarian. Pretty cool title, right?
Okay, so what is this thing? Well, George AI is an AI system that's been trained exclusively on primary source documents. We're talking the writings, letters, and all the philosophical stuff that influenced America's founders. And the really crucial part is where this data comes from. It's built on this huge private collection of founding documents, reportedly the third largest in the world, right behind the National Archives and the Library of Congress. So yeah, this is the real deal.
And when we say its knowledge base is deep, we mean deep. This thing has digested the Federalist Papers, sure, but also their personal letters, their private journals, even thousands of sermons they would have heard in church. Plus, it includes all the stuff that influenced them, like Blackstone's Law and the Bible. It's the whole shebang.
Now, you're probably thinking, how do they keep it accurate? And that's the key question, right? So its creators built what they call an electric fence around it. What that means is it's a totally closed system. It can't go out and browse the internet. Its only source of truth is the documents it was trained on. This is all designed to prevent it from just making stuff up, AI hallucinations, and to make sure every single answer comes directly from that source material.
So naturally, what's the first thing you do once you build this thing? You test it. So they fitted a bunch of information about the current state of America and asked it this one simple but huge question. From the perspective of the founders, what is our single biggest problem right now? And the answer it gave back, wow. When they translated it into plain English, it was totally unexpected. The AI didn't point to politics, it didn't point to the economy, it said the biggest problem is moral.
And it didn't just stop there. It broke it down into 4 main points. First, a growing skepticism of truth itself. Second, just total recklessness with national debt. Third, a culture that prefers blaming others over building solutions. And finally, a loss of what it called public virtue, which is this idea that, to have a self-governing country, you first need self-governing people.
So this George AI thing is super interesting, but it's really just pointing to a much, much bigger idea. The vision here isn't just about making a cool history chatbot. It's about completely overhauling the way we educate, moving away from that old industrial factory school model we've all been through.
And this table really lays out the difference, doesn't it? For 150 years, school has been one size fits all. Same pace, same book for every single kid in the room. This AI mentor model just flips that whole concept on its head. We're talking personalized pacing, a curriculum where you can literally interview historical figures, and feedback that's instant and responsive.
This whole new way of learning is really built on 4 main pillars. First, you get personalized tutoring for every single child. Second, the pacing is adaptive. It adjusts automatically. So if one kid gets a concept in 9 minutes and another needs 9 days, no problem. The system just adapts. Third, it can change its teaching style on the fly to match how you learn, whether you're a visual learner, an auditory learner, or you learn best through stories. And finally, you get an instant feedback loop, so the AI is constantly asking questions and tweaking the next lesson.
And look, this is way bigger than just one set of historical figures. The people behind this see it as a way to democratize mentorship. Basically, any great mind from history who left behind enough writing, well, they can become a living, breathing teacher all over again.
I mean, just let your imagination run with this for a second. What if you could have Shakespeare as your personal writing tutor? Or Marcus Aurelius for ethics? Or maybe Captain Cook walking you through leadership and navigation? Or even Da Vinci explaining how art and science connect? It's their actual words, their thoughts, just synthesized into a conversation.
See, this changes learning from something passive, just reading a book, into an active investigation. You could literally ask Shakespeare, hey, why do humans betray each other? What was going on in Macbeth's head? Instead of just reading some dry summary in a textbook.
Or how about this? You're on your way to work, feeling stressed, and you could ask Marcus Aurelius for advice on how to stop overthinking. And the AI would take all of his deep Stoic philosophy and turn it into practical advice you can actually use today. And the potential for things like professional development is just massive. Imagine you're trying to become a better leader. You could explore leadership strategies with Captain Cook based directly on the challenges he wrote about in his own journals while navigating completely uncharted waters.
The way its proponents frame this is, well, it's the end of intellectual gatekeeping. For centuries, we've needed experts and historians to interpret these old texts for us. But the analogy they use is just perfect. It's like instead of someone else telling you what a movie is about, you get to watch the movie with the director sitting right there next to you, ready to answer any question you have.
Okay, and this is where we get to the biggest, most profound claim of all. This isn't just about a new educational tool. The vision here is that this technology could literally restore a civilization's memory and maybe even spark a whole new era of human flourishing.
And at the core of that vision is a really simple but powerful idea, a civilization that forgets its own past, its foundations, its core philosophies. Well, it can't survive. And this technology is being presented as the way to make that collective memory alive and accessible to everyone, all over again.
There's even what the sources are calling a spiritual dimension to all of this. It's about more than just data. It's about resurrecting voices from the past. It's about letting the dead teach the living and reconnecting us to the moral and philosophical backbone of our culture. It's this incredible merger of ancient wisdom and modern clarity. And that brings us to the final, most audacious claim you're going to hear. The idea is that by unlocking the wisdom of history's greatest minds and making it available to absolutely everyone, we're not just making school better. We could be standing on the brink of nothing less than a second renaissance. Seriously.
So all of this leaves us with one last, fascinating question to think about. If you could actually have a conversation with any of the greatest thinkers from history, I'm talking Shakespeare, Plato, Da Vinci, Lincoln, you name it, what would be the very first thing you'd ask them?